G'day once again, Melbourne Storm fans, and welcome to another instalment of the Graveyard Shift with me, Dubs, and the pole man by my side. And the Melbourne Storm, another good win over the weekend to secure second place. So we will get the home final, or as home as it can be, or perhaps more importantly, we'll prevent the team we're playing against from having the home ground advantage in week one of the finals. Apart from that, the top four is locked away. The top eight is locked away. It's just a matter now of who finishes in exactly what spot and who is playing whom at this stage. Pole man, with that rather confusing introduction, how you going?
Yeah, not too bad, Dubs. Just another week here in isolation paradise here in Melbourne. Although some things are changing next week. I think the outdoor pools might be opening, and I'm a keen swimmer myself, so hopefully they'll be open.
You
But
are indeed.
good victory on the weekend. It was nice to rack up the 50. But again, I think the story of the day was just our leaky defence. Again, conceding 20 plus points to a team that won't be featuring in the finals 2 weeks in a row isn't a good sign. But overall, I guess you've got to be pleased with the performance. We're looking very good in attacks, a lot of positives from that respect. Nico Hines looked really comfortable, didn't he? Especially in those those set plays. What else did I think of the game? Again, I thought our defence was just really soft. Like that second and fourth try, the first and third try was those beautiful cutout balls from Benji Marshall that I think I mentioned last week that we had to be careful of. And in defence of the boys, that the third try, which was the cutout pass, was on our right side. Our right side, I think, has been a bit of a weakness in recent weeks. But in the boys' defence, I think Sully was off at that stage. He had to limp off. I think he strained his hamstring, and they took him off as a bit of precaution. But yeah, and you can sort of understand them being complacent. The fact that, we're up by so many points, we're scoring at will today, that you can get a little bit complacent in defence. I firmly believe that we will find that gear when it gets to finals. And I think, and I'm not just saying that out of hope, I think we've proven it this season when it's come to some real crunch games. The two Roosters games come to mind. They were both real crunch games, especially if you hark back to the week where we beat them in that amazing Golden Point thriller. That was the week after we lost to the Panthers, and you could just see a completely different attitude in the boys that night. So I feel that it might be a bit of an attitude thing, and I think the fact that once you put them in a final situation against what will probably be likely the Roosters again, I think the attitude will change, and I think that defence will be tightened up a lot. So overall pleased, but but yeah, again, conceding 20 points wasn't great. What are your thoughts, Dubs?
Yeah, I'll go something similar. I think as you suggested last week, if you'd said to me there's going to be a couple of Benji Marshall made tries, I'd have said, well, that's pretty much par for the course when you play a Benji Marshall side. So you can kind of forgive a couple of those. That said, consecutive weeks where we've been leaky, not nearly as bad as last week. We didn't sort of capitulate and turn what should have been a big win into a just comfortable win. We actually did manage to sustain a bit of the pressure in the second half. But I suppose the disappointing side for me was after that 10, 15 minutes of initial dominance early in the game, the first two tries, and feeling comfortable and thinking, okay, great, we're going to dictate terms. We then kind of took the foot off the pedal or lost control of the momentum. We lost control of the ability to dictate terms, probably until, getting into the second half when we were really able to put the foot back down again and get the job done properly. So I also think we have another gear, and I also think Bellamy and the players are probably holding themselves back a little bit because you don't win a premiership in the last few rounds of the home and away season, and we can't move off second. So this week, expect to see all sorts of different things happening for good or better or worse. I don't really know until we get there, but we know there's another gear that we can step up to. So the question now becomes, assuming it is the Roosters, which is the more likely of the two circumstances, but who knows, maybe Barrett's, it's entirely possible. Let's say it's the Roosters. They're already at that level. So it's genuinely difficult to say with certainty whether it's better to be us with that gear to step up to, or it's better to be the Roosters who have found that gear at the moment. So it comes down to, do they maintain their pressure better and their game style better, or is it better for us to be able to have that gear to take up to them to kind of stop them in their tracks? We're going to find that out, not this weekend, but in the first week of the finals. And again, I say all that with the assumption that the Roosters do maintain and beat Souths. but it's entirely possible that they could slip up there. Souths might want to bounce back, and we could end up with power as well. So we've at least got the advantage that since we can't move, we can kind of go into our own game with the pressure off, because it's, if ever you had a dead rubber in a competitive sport going to finals, this is it. So the only thing that I think you're going to see this weekend, the only players I can see going above and beyond are those players who do not know if they've got a spot in the extended squad in finals. So someone like Riley Jacks, Nico Hines, now's the time. If you're even in any doubt about whether you've got a spot on the bench, because I think we know who the best starting lineup is, the names like Momorowski as well, Eisenhuth, there's a fair few of them thrown out there. Names that are probably just on the fringe for the bench. This is their week to go out and go hard. Apart from that, I don't expect to see too much of our best polished finals football. But yeah, to come back to the point, I think we do have another gear. The question is, how good is that other gear, and how well has Bellamy and the side prepared for it? So we won't know for a couple of weeks. And I think only a fool would make a prediction at this point, because there's just too much water to go under the bridge.
Yeah. And I mean, we all know the Roosters are the real deal. I mean, this year. We can't say the Panthers aren't contenders, but a lot of people have got a lot of question marks on whether they can go all the way. They really haven't been tested. You know, when they beat us and the Roosters early in the season, and credit to them. I think they've played us once. They've played Para twice. They lost to them earlier in the year when Para had that real good golden patch of form, and they beat them recently. And as we know, Parramatta has been pretty ordinary, the last sort of 4 weeks or so. So a lot of question marks on Penrith. One team I don't want to face is the Raiders. They're a really tough, in-your-face team. If you remember back to when we beat them in Canberra, it was just a hard-fought slog. They're just that really physical side, and that's a game you feel like you might win, but you might walk away with a few injuries. So that didn't pop up on the screen. There's something's popped up on my screen. But anyway, I guess time will tell. And like I said, we've got the luxury, as you know, the team list has come out. We've made about 11, 12 players. Like, we're basically playing our reserves this week. And it'll be interesting to see exactly who steps up. They're playing for potentially a spot on the bench, or who knows, even in the starting lineup.
Yeah. And that's a big deal. It shouldn't be understated that the people who are in this squad, someone like a Riley Jacks, who's been around the club for a while now, albeit with that year away, who has seen what the players have been able to do in finals campaigns before and hasn't been able to force his way into that side. He's probably thinking to himself, you know, if the side makes it all the way to the final day again and is able to win a premiership, I don't want to miss out. I've been close before. I've been around clubs that have been successful, and I haven't quite managed to get that opportunity. But if I prove my value at the right time and get into the team, I get to be wearing a jersey on grand final day. And whatever impact I have, it still makes me part of a grand final side. And that is a motivation that shouldn't be underestimated. Right now, there are a lot of guys who are thinking those 14 to 18 jerseys are up for grabs, and they'll absolutely be going for them. And similarly with guys like Nelson and Tino, they'll be thinking to themselves, well, am I a starting player or am I a bench player? I guess we don't really know either.
I think rested. So I think this week.
I beg your pardon. I think you might be right there.
Welch is back.
Welch is back. That's the other big prop I was thinking of. He probably needs this run, actually, given he's had a little disruption over the last few weeks. And someone like a Shandor Earl clearly got talent. Clearly is well enough liked by Bellamy and the staff. He's just never forced his way into being a starting player. But someone with that kind of ability should absolutely be considering himself an option to be in this squad. And especially with the injuries we've had to Marion Seve and the uncertainty there has been in the centres, he's probably looking at that position thinking, I can play centre. I'll have a go at that. So I'm fascinated to see what the guys do, but I think there's a lot of unknown. And keeping in mind, not just for our club, but for any of the clubs that we potentially come up against, there's another game before finals. That means potential injuries, suspensions for any number of players. Exactly. It means dips in form. It means shocks, losses. Thing is, if we go and get beaten up and lose on the weekend, we go, oh well. And then we move on.
And that's the thing. Roosters and Souths, they're both playing for their position in the top eight, especially Souths. They really stuffed up last week, losing to the Bulldogs. So they're going to come out wanting to host a final. And it's a local derby, traditional derby, regardless of where they are on the ladder. That's going to have that extra, 5-10% of intensity because of the fact that it's east and south. So
Indeed.
hopefully they just bash each other senseless and
Absolutely.
they're all concussed and they all can't play next week and we play the Roosters reserves. So that'll be great.
That would be fantastic. That's the ideal situation. That probably won't happen, but I feel like we're making a lot of predictions without actually looking at the table. So, Mr. Poleman, why don't you bring up the graphic and talk us through the results, the table, and what the situation looks like going into the last round of the home and away season.
All right, let's quickly cover round 19 first. So, yeah, we just mentioned that shock result, but the doggies got up.
They got there, despite the touchy's best attempt to stuff them up.
It was that was an interesting game to watch. Well done to Canterbury. They finally got that win and they're finally off the bottom. Panthers, again, looking very strong. Beat the Cowboys up there in North Queensland. The Eels were too good for the Broncos. Titans, Warriors, what's that, 66 points. Absolute tri-fest, and then 72 in our game. So there's a lot of points scored on Saturday.
Heavy scoring on Saturday.
Saturday, the Sharks were competitive, but the Roosters were too good. Again, the Warriors are kind of like the Bulldogs. They've had a lot of competitive close losses. So, bad luck to the Warriors there. Ricky Stewart was having a go again at the referees. The guy does they win and he still complains. Like, this guy does my head in.
Maybe he's a South Sydney fan secretly.
Yeah, he's booing all the time. Yeah, did you see him he threw the bottle through the window of the coach's box? He got a suspended $10,000 fine, but he got away with a warning for his comments on the referees. And then the Knights, the Dragons, I think they've given up, but
that's Q in the rack kind of attitude, that is.
Yeah, it is. And let's go on to the table. Panthers have sealed the JJ Gilliton Shield this year.
Pretty remarkable season. You've got to hand it to them. I know that we said question marks over them, and we'll wait to see what they prove in finals, but that's a fantastic home and away season. So
that's the thing. Even if they say, if there's an imaginary round 21 and they were to play us, assuming we both win this week, they'd still win the Shield because they've just been that good.
It's an incredible record.
First time a team's won the Shield other than Storm and Rooster since 2012. So that's broken the Storm Rooster stranglehold there.
Who had it in 2012? Remind me, was it the Doggies?
I think it was the Canterbury.
Oh, and then
or was it the Dragons were?
I can't remember. I know we ended up
on Premiership
grand final. Sorry, no, we had the Dogs on grand final day. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
Did they win the Shield though?
Can quickly look it up.
This is why we don't do questions without notice during a live show. We're just going to make ourselves look stupid.
Yeah. Anyway, it wasn't Storm, so it doesn't matter. So we've got, obviously the intrigue is here, 3rd, 4th, 5th. 118, you can't imagine the Raiders jumping the Roosters, looking at their difference, but the Raiders could definitely jump the Eels. The Eels could jump the Roosters. So a lot to play for there. Knights and Rabbitohs are fighting for a home spot. I think the Sharks, they're going to be playing away first game. They're not playing for nothing necessarily. Well, they really are. They can't look at that points difference.
Yeah, unlikely. If they win and the Rabbitohs lose, they may end up getting the Knights instead of the Raiders. You don't want to lose, but at the same time, you're also kind of on a hiding to nothing. The Sharks could put in a great performance and end up still copying the Raiders and ending up. But then again, maybe they match up well against the Raiders. There's just at this point, you just got to be playing your best football, I think, unless you're us and you can't move and you can't beat the rest of your players.
They could be playing next week.
The same sort of thing.
Yeah. And then Titans up in 9th. I think that's quite. I think they've won 4 in a row now. The Titans.
Yeah, that was a surprise. I've also got to say it's a bit of a shock to see that they're still giving premiership odds to sides that can't make the finals. But
what is that? Is it in case a team gets disqualified all of a sudden? Like imagine the top 8 have all been caught cheating with drugs, so it looks like Titans. You're playing.
Get on the Broncos at $5,001. Put a fiver on that for a bet that you can't win, but then you end up winning by some bizarre default.
Yeah. And anyway, just the Broncos. Yep, last. Finally, I'm happy. So one more loss. Come on. Anyway, and so let's look ahead to our game against the Dragons. Sunday live on Channel 9, 4:05 p.m. kickoff. It's at Cogra. Yes, Netstrata Jubilee Stadium.
Yeah, we do all right at Cobra as well.
Yeah.
Historically, anyway.
We
That's
played the Warriors there earlier this year, didn't we? In our home game when we first had to.
I think we had 2 home games there, if memory serves, and the initial period after when we were trying to work out if Victoria would be an option, and we worked out that it wasn't. But look at that. That's just a let's play a different team. There's some remarkable numbers of changes there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Literally, our starting lineups out this week, resting.
Yep.
Ryan Papenhausen captain this week.
So that's probably the only. Well, there's a couple in there, but in the back line, I'd say that's the only of the big names to return. And quite rightly, captain. I think it's perfectly appropriate that he does play, given he's missed the last 2. There's a name that you've brought up a few times, and I'm excited to see that as well. I think this is the chance you do take. And if it's clear that he's blowing and he's just not gelling and he's not ready yet, that's fine. You put him on ice until the preseason, but we have to know. So it's good. I think it's a good opportunity to play him. It's the perfect chance. How does Momorowski not have a photo, by the way?
Yeah, I was thinking that too. He's been around for a while and he still doesn't have a photo. So
I understand Latelli's joined us in the middle of a bizarre situation, but
yeah,
Momorowski should have one. And Lume, I'd like to give him a bit more chance to see what he can do. Riley Jacks, I think, becomes one of the more experienced players in there. You expect to see him try to grab that opportunity. Cooper Johns, I'm glad to see he gets the second game. You never know. You could lose your 2 best halfback options and he could end up having to play in finals.
Yeah.
Glad to see Kamika getting a run. That's great. Brandon Smith-Welsh, there's a bit more experience there. Eisenhuth as well. So it's not as if we don't have any experienced players out there.
Our forward pack's still pretty strong.
That's still
considering it's our second string forward pack.
Max King, probably on those names, and Chris Lewis, the 2 who aren't obvious examples of opportunity players who get an opportunity to crack into the senior squad most of the time.
Yeah. How does Darren Shonning not get a run? I guess he's coming.
I suppose I expect to see reasonable amounts of rotations on there.
Yeah.
And Vete and Penne at the end there as well. Nico Hines, I think you'll see having a. I mean, Nico Hines is the unlucky one that he's the only guy going for a position where the senior player is available.
It's kind of like, that Simpsons episode where
Darryl Strawberry is the only one left.
Yeah, Darryl Strawberry's the only one left, so poor Homer has to sit on the bench. Anyway.
Maybe that means Pappenhausen gets subbed out at the end of the game, and on comes big Nico Hines to do something crazy while Bellamy's making gestures on the side. Anyone who's not a Simpsons fan, please ignore that walk down memory lane.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, Simpsons-related NRL meme. Surely you can make that meme up right now. But anyway, it's second string team. Dubs, is it good enough to win? What do you reckon?
Short answer, yes. However, if this was a game for sheep stations and St. George was playing for finals, I'd say definitely not. And I'd say we'd gone out without really caring about. There's a lot I'd say we've done that anyway. They'll try to win. I think it's going to be tough to win. I'm still backing us to get over the line just purely on that basis that we have so many players playing for something. Mind you, Saturday, they've got players probably playing for hope of a contract, either at their current club at St. George or trying to impress somebody who might be out to poach them if their time is up there. So, look, I'm going to back us just, but I could also, if we're talking next week about a 10, 20-point loss, I won't be shocked. And I won't be shocked if Bellamy is looking pretty placid at the end of a game if we have gone down, because I think that most people understand what the point of this game is. And we really go in here with just a very casual look. It's almost like a trial game or a practice game.
And yeah, I agree. I think our players have more to play for. They're playing for, like we've talked about already, a potential spot in that 17. Their players, by all means, have already checked out. So based off that, I still think we're going to win. But like you said, if we come out on the wrong side, I won't be, they may have done a bit of soul searching. It's their last game at Cogra this season. Who knows?
Who knows?
It kind of more depends on what the Dragons want to do. I feel our boys are going to be fired up. They're going to be out for a game. If the Dragons really want to win, they might be good enough. If they won't, I think our boys will get them. So, yeah, time will tell. We'll see.
Depends what Dragons
turn on Sunday.
We kind of know what Storm will turn up. It'll be a very hard-working, albeit lacking depth of talent side.
Yeah, we'll lack that creativity, but, hopefully at defence. Surely defence we can improve this week.
Cool.
All right. So, Dubs, just quickly before we go on to ponderings this week, so just wanted to mention how I'm impressed with our our owner, Matt Tripp. Now, I believe he's an alumni of Assumption College, Kilmore, which I actually attended for 6 months of my schooling. Anyway, there's been a lot of talk about Dave Donaghy applying, the Broncos taking our CEO, Dave Donaghy, away. And he's come out with some really strong words against the Broncos, and I'm absolutely loving it. He's even threatened to, I was reading an article today where he's basically stating that in Donaghy's contract, he's not allowed to have talks, official talks with any other company till the 31st of January. So if the Broncos are going to be looking to interview him or anything, he's going to, come out firing with the lawyers. So it's getting a bit nasty there. But I mean, I really like how he's standing up. And this is a quote from another, Matt Tripp quote from another article this week about the whole Broncos situation. In terms of, not only they're after the CEO, they've been linked with Cameron Smith, they've been linked with Craig Bellamy. So here's the quote. To run off the playbook of the Melbourne Storm is one thing. And to go after the captain, coach, and chief executive is a little bit boring and shows a lack of creativity from a supposed powerhouse. They are embarrassing themselves. Just because you pluck people out of an organisation doesn't mean it is going to work for you, especially when you are as toxic as they are. So very strong words from Matt Tripp, but I absolutely love it. So hats off to Matt Tripp, and well done. He's really, not letting the Broncos, try to basically poach our CEO, and good on him. So well done, Matt Tripp. If you're listening out there, Matt Tripp, great stuff. All right, Dubs, are we on to Paul's Ponderings?
Ponder away, my friend. Ponder away.
So here we go. We're continuing on with the Fallen Mediocre Clubs series. This week we are looking at none other than the. Oops, let me just double click that.
Pause for effect.
The Adelaide Rams.
Wow. Hello, Microsoft Paint. I love your logo made by a Year 7 kid.
Yep. It was, again, 90s sort of artwork. Do you still see the Rams logo, Dubs?
I can see the Rams logo. I can't say I'm particularly impressed. I mean, I know our logo back then has aged as well, but I'd like to think...
I liked our logo.
I liked our logo back then. That's the point. It still looked good for its time. It just looks dated. This looks terrible.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be such a dick about it, but that is an awful logo. That's a clip art logo.
I don't mind it. I don't think it's that bad. But anyway.
I just wonder what it is. It doesn't have like a shield on it. It's just a yellow and blue ram with a big
that whole sort of 90s, Super League. It was all about like trying to look at American sports and try to copy a lot what's going on in America.
That's not a great thing in itself, but anyway.
Yeah, and I feel that the logo, this Rams logo, sort of reflects that. All right, anyway, Dub. So I'll begin the Adelaide Rams story in the early 90s. First of all, I just want to say I've done a lot of research. I've had to dig into some archives. I feel like a professional rugby league historian right now. All right, so as early as 1991, they'd taken first grade games to Adelaide. So 1991, St George played Balmain in obviously a competitive game. 30,000 fans packed at Adelaide Oval to watch that game, which was a lot better sort of attendances, and there was a lot more success hosting games in Adelaide than there was at Perth and Melbourne at the same time. Anyway, so an Adelaide consortium under the control of the SARL, so the South Australian Rugby League, actually lodged an application in mid-94 to the ARL to join the expanded 95 premiership. So as we've talked about in other episodes, that's when, you had the Crushers, Cowboys, Warriors, and the Western Reds coming in. But obviously that bid was unsuccessful. So then on the 12th of November 94, the Adelaide Advertiser reported that News Limited's 96 Super League competition would include a South Australian club. It was announced that a Sydney club would relocate to Adelaide and be named the Adelaide Aces. Now, the name the Adelaide Aces was used a lot in this whole Adelaide team. The reason being was there was a potential sponsorship of the Adelaide Casino if they were to sort of go with that name. But anyway, those plans obviously fizzled out because of what happened in '95 in terms of the ARL and Super League and the Super League war there. But the push for the Adelaide team gained serious momentum when the SARL signed with Super League in June '95. So Super League's preference was for a Melbourne team, but the Victorian Rugby League decided to remain loyal to the ARL, and also the Victorian government was very hesitant to provide any assistance or support. So Super League, they wanted a team in Melbourne, But because there was no support, they said, all right, well, the SARL's all for it, so let's give it to Adelaide. So on the 13th of December 1995, Super League announced that they would have a team from Adelaide, making it the 10th and final team to join the Super League. The name, the Adelaide Aces, was eventually changed to the Rams. This is a quote from John Rebo, who, as we know, was the first CEO of Melbourne Storm, also CEO of the Super League at the time. Quote, the Adelaide Rams name is readily identifiable with strength and hardness. The interim label of the Adelaide Aces was too soft and did not have the required identity and branding necessary for a Super League team. Now, I know, although, I kind of like the name Rams, it's definitely better than Aces. So I think they made a good call there.
Rams beats Aces, but I can think of plenty more terrifying animals than a ram.
Yeah. Anyway, apparently Rams, I haven't really researched this thoroughly, but I read this while I was obviously doing this Adelaide Rams piece, was one of the discarded potential nicknames for the Adelaide Crows. Obviously, they selected Crows, so which I thought was a little bit of interesting trivia. Anyway, they obviously then adopted the colours of South Australia. They played in those blue, red, and yellow. Although they didn't really have yellow on their jerseys, but it did feature on their logo. Kerrod Walters was their sort of captain and marquee player, and Ron Reddy was their initial coach. Another interesting thing, they tried to sign George Gregan in 1996 when they were obviously setting up their team. So could you imagine George Gregan playing at the Adelaide Rams? I don't think he would have had this illustrious career as he did in union. I think Gregan made the right call there, sticking with rugby union.
He did. He was just on the cusp of becoming one of the best halfbacks in the world.
Yeah.
And he was for a good 10 years after that. So probably a mutually beneficial decision there. It might have, well, maybe the Rams would have got something out of it, but it's not, code swapping doesn't always work out.
No. But yeah, he would have joined this team that was just mediocre, or anyway, he went on to win the World Cup with Australia in 99. But anyway, so let's talk about their first season. So like a lot of these teams with profile dubs that sort of popped up in the mid-90s, they attracted huge crowds. Nearly 28,000 people packed out Adelaide Oval for their first game. I believe it was against the Hunter Mariners, and they won that. Now, it was 27,435. This was the fourth highest attendance of the entire 1997 Super League season, only behind the grand final, Super League grand final, the opening game in Brisbane, and there was a round 6 game in Townsville that attracted 30,000. This is pretty good for a rugby league city. And for their first season, they had the average home attendance of 15,330, the fourth highest in Super League, and the fifth highest of all 22 teams in both ARL and Super League competitions, which was pretty good. So 97, they finished 9th out of 10th, although it was pretty close. I think there are only 2 or 3 games out of that, the top 5 final series, because I think it was pretty close, that Super League table in 97. 98, things went a bit pear-shaped. It really went wrong early on in 98. So, I'm trying to find the quote. Producing only 1 win out of the opening 7 games drove the club apart, eventually resulting in coach Rod Reddy being shown the door. Reddy was sacked in early May, and the club rejected a team for the game against Canberra. The coach had intended to drop at least 4 star players from the starting 13. I can't believe club committees and boards actually, I hope that doesn't happen anymore, that clubs committees can actually reject team lists submitted by the coach. I think they really should stay out of that.
Hope for an autonomous football department, but there you go.
Yeah. So anyway, 98 was pretty bad. They lost a lot of their first games early. Their average crowds dropped to 7,500, so like less than half what they were averaging in their first season. And to make things worse, the South Australian Cricket Association had ongoing problems with the SARL and the Rams' use of the stadium, of Adelaide Oval, that is. So they moved to the rectangular Hindmarsh Stadium, which, I mean, I'm surprised they didn't go for that at the start. I think at the time, Hindmarsh, though, wasn't a great stadium. Do you remember Hindmarsh in the mid to late 90s?
If you follow sport keenly, if you follow football keenly, that's the round ball in this country, as you and I do. You might remember the old Adelaide City side with Alex Tobin and the Vidmars back in the 90s, very strong, playing a couple of grand finals there. Think back to Viduka at the Melbourne Knights. There was that grand final in 95, I think, played there. Look, great if you're an old-fashioned sports fan. You love rough as guts venues, high fences, people crammed in old terracing. You and I would probably love it, but I can see why it didn't really work as a boutique venue. It wasn't particularly polished at the time. It had the one stand, and the rest of it was, terracing and bays of pretty open seats. And even though it's not a five-star covered venue at the moment, it was at least significantly improved around the time of the Olympics. So it has been better since the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's quite a nice little stadium for Adelaide standards, of course. now it is. Anyway, so
they've got the really nice Adelaide Oval now, in fairness to them. So we can't bag them too much. Or we can. We just, we'll expect them to fight back this time.
Anyway, so 98 was pretty dismal. They finished 17th out of 20. However, they went on a spending spree for the 99 season. They even had a season launch in November of 98 where they actually unveiled their jerseys for the 99 season, which I actually have a photo of. It was hard to find. However, amidst the hope for the future, the St. George and Illawarra merger triggered further talks between the NRL partners. Adelaide was told by News Limited, quote, "We have concluded that further significant financial commitment by News, in addition to funds received from the NRL, is not financially viable. The Rams board had desperately sought out alternative funding and looked at merging with the Sydney club to no avail. So on December the 1st, while the players were away at training camps in Strathalbyn, the Rams closed their doors. Their promising 99 team never took the field." So that was it for the Adelaide Rams. Now, let me just sort of I've still got a little bit to go here, but I found this Kerrod Walters quote from 2018 from the Sunshine Coast Daily article. He's talking about Adelaide Oval, and he's talking about how he was disappointed that they got basically scrapped after 2 years. So, quote from Kerrod Walters, "That's why I was disappointed. They didn't get an opportunity to fulfill their destiny," which I thought was a bit of a romantic quote, but a bit ridiculous. And then he goes on to say, "There's every chance Adelaide could have gone on, perhaps not had quite the success that Melbourne has had, but they certainly would have been a competitive franchise with good support." And then in fairness, they were averaging better crowds in that first season than we were. We were only averaging 11, 12,000 that first season. And also, we have to be fair and say, they finished 9th that year. We were 3rd. We were flying in 98.
And 99.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of think that if we didn't have that early success, Melbourne Storm could have easily gone down this path of mediocrity. They could have lost interest very quickly. But, history tells another story. Now, the only player that I think went on to play for the Storm that was on the Adelaide books was David Kidwell, New Zealand international. He was at the Rams, 97, 98. But the biggest Melbourne Storm link that the Rams have, we obviously played them in one game in 1998. Now, we as soon as I think Storm or Rams 98, I think of the Southern States Cup. So this was this one-off gimmick trophy that was there to try to drum up this sort of rivalry between the two clubs and draw a bit more interest, I think, in the Melbourne and Adelaide press about the game. Now, I remember when I started looking up this, I could not find anything about this on the internet. It's really this obscure thing that I think everybody's forgotten about. So I've actually had to dive into some old newspaper articles. I actually had to sign up to the State Library archives. And just to prove that I wasn't crazy, and this thing actually does exist. So there's one quote from The Age on June the 12th. Quote, "As if the rivalry needed intensifying," because apparently the Storm-Rams rivalry was this huge thing, even though they've never played each other. "The two sides will play for the Southern States Cup as well as points tomorrow night." And then the Adelaide Advertiser opened up their article on the game on June 13th. This was before the game, obviously. The opening line, "The fierce rivalry between South Australia and Victoria will tonight enter a new era when the Adelaide Rams take on the Melbourne Storm for the Southern States Cup." A new era that lasted one game. So it's always funny, looking back at this. Despite all these sort of attempts by the clubs and the media to try to pump up the South Australia versus Victoria rivalry, the attendance that night was an abysmal 8,200, which is one of the Storm's worst attendances of their history. So obviously there wasn't too much interest in the Adelaide Rams Melbourne Storm rivalry back then. And so we went on to win the Southern States Cup. I actually tweeted at Melbourne Storm if they have a photo of the Southern States Cup. I'd love to show it with you guys, but I don't. But anyway, so that's a brief history of the Adelaide Rams. And so let's just quickly flick through some photos. So this is Chubby Checker, Dub. Now, you know a bit more about Chubby Checker than I do, don't you?
Chubby Checker is "Come On Baby, Let's Do the Twist." He was a famous singer and dancer from the 50s and 60s. So if you know that, "Come on baby, let's do the twist." I think he's still kicking. Got to be getting ancient if he is, but that's Chubby Checker, a very famous, big, happy, jaunty American singer. So you can see why they called him that, based on the way he's filling out that jumper there.
Yeah, and for some reason he sung at one of their games. So that was the Rams gimmick. This is Rams Central, or wherever their headquarters was. Grey Mappo. Now, this is their sort of famous cultish yellow jersey that they only ever wore once, and it was their last ever game. It was against Newcastle. As you can imagine, they had the colour clash with the Knights. That's their 98 team. You can see David Kidwell's just got his head
there
back
he is, there. That familiar bonce of his. Geez, that looked like a Newcastle jumper.
Yeah, exactly. Newcastle in about 2001, their jerseys looked very similar to their this Rams jersey. That's them after their first win at Adelaide Oval, in front of that 27 and odd crowd. This is another photo of them, the Rams celebrating. At least they should have gone at least with yellow numbers. You know, they should have added a bit of yellow into that jersey. This is Kerrod Walters. That's David Kidwell, obviously playing for him in the Super League season. That was his 98 card, the Ram card. Favorite food, hungy. I don't know what that is, but maybe we can look it up later.
It might be one for us to check.
Yeah. That was their 98 jersey. That's the 98 away jersey that they famously wore in their last ever game. And this is that 99 jersey. So apparently this was going to be their jersey for 1999, which they obviously never competed.
In 99, were they planning to play in the old domestic one-day cricket competition or something? Were they? That is an interesting one.
Yeah, it does. It does look a bit like that, doesn't it? And this was looking up Southern States Cup. I found this. This is quite funny. So this is from the official Storm Twitter account back in 2013. You know, we're showing off our silverware, and then classic footy. Where's the Southern States Cup? That is a great question, Dubs. We need to start a campaign. Where is the Southern States Cup? Well, I want to see a photo. What's happened to it?
Pics or it didn't happen, as the kids say.
Bring it back. Bring back the Southern States Cup.
We hold it in perpetuity at the moment. We are yet to be challenged. No one has been worthy from the Southern States.
Yep. It's our first ever piece of silverware. If that ever true, it was Melbourne Storm's first ever trophy. It wasn't the 99 premiership. It was the Southern States Cup.
That's true.
All right. Okay.
Oh, your ponderings, as always, are incredible.
They're getting longer, so I apologise for our viewers.
Better spin on to those memes as quick as you can. Otherwise,
let's hit the memes, Doug. So
the coffee to wake up.
Yeah, let me quickly. Good memes, some good memes this week. They're basically hitting two subjects. There's the two main subjects this week. So here we go. Here's Wayne Bennett addressing the Rabbitohs. Men, there's a crippled club who want you to win tonight. I know this because I crippled them myself to inspire you to lose. So Brilliant. It is quite ironic that the Bulldogs finally beat the Wayne Bennett-led Rabbitohs. And here's another one.
I know we're trying to save time, but I just got to jump in with, we should have had Millhouse saying, I hope they win, I hope they lose, or Mr. Bennett says he's coming back.
Yeah. I just love to Wayne Bennett as Drake here. I think that's hilarious.
I love that Wayne Bennett almost looks like he's not angry in the second photo.
Yeah. And this one's obviously a New South Wales one. I still think it's funny. NRL Final 8. Where the bloody hell are you? A hark back to that famous Lara Bingle Australian tourism ad. And here's another Wayne Bennett one. Yes, we lost. I'm very upset about it. Yeah. So
again, that doesn't look natural smiling.
Yeah. Again, more pouring on the Queensland clubs. So this is a good.
They've gone hard this week.
Yeah. This isn't really a meme, but I thought this was clever. There's a couple of, the Manly have got the Simpsons characters out there this week.
It really does look like Hank Scorpio there. Exact dimensions of his face.
Yeah, it does. It's great. Fortress Brookvale, solid as ever.
Hard to argue with that, given how they've crumbled this season.
And the last one, I made the last one myself. Are we up to the last one? No, wait, sorry, we got Hectic Cheese. This isn't a meme, but this was Brandon Smith posted this. Thanks for testing out the draw all game. So good on Brandon. He's obviously a character.
That's a good way to be.
The next one, I made the last one myself. I haven't ripped off anyone here. There you go. Do you like that, Dubs?
That's beautiful, my friend. That is beautiful.
There we go.
Sort of
So
sums up the Craig Bellamy I know and love.
we had to obviously mention the Bellamy flipping the bird. It was probably the highlight of the season, I reckon. It was
Just beautiful.
yeah, and that's
Oh,
the
man.
memes this week, Dubs.
Your ponderings and your memes, as ever, are great fodder for a couple of sports fans like us. And I hope you guys enjoying it. I hope you guys watching us on the Graveyard Shift are enjoying it as well. You are getting an education into fallen rugby league clubs like no other around the world. And really a bit of a segue into the Super League war. We might save your thoughts on that for season 2021. Otherwise, we'll have to open up a separate show, mate.
No, I'm not gonna. I've been listening to the Rugby League Digest, mate. Those guys have covered absolutely every aspect. I'm still about 10 hours away. They've got about 38, 40 hours of just talking about what happened in the mid-90s. But yeah, guys, get around the Southern States Cup. That's all I want to say.
All I can say is let's put a campaign together to get another challenger for us, because otherwise we're just going to hold it forever and ever, and we're just going to assume that nobody has the guts to take us on. But that is, we've got to wrap up here on the Graveyard Shift. We are running quite long, and we do want to let you get to bed, or hopefully, well, I can't say this will be for the commute to the work on your car radio if you're in lockdown at the moment, but hopefully you're enjoying it and keeping up with us and our thoughts on the Melbourne Storm as we surge towards the finals. So keep an eye on your screens this weekend, see what the Melbourne Storm do with a bunch of trialists and probables really ahead of the finals campaign, and keep an eye on the other results too, because we'll be keenly trying to find out who will be playing and when we'll be playing in week 1 of the finals. Paul, man, thanks as always for your thoughts and your very detailed research into the fallen Adelaide Rams.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dubs. And as always, please share, like, subscribe, comment. We had a few good comments, got a bit of discussion going last week, so please keep that up. I love it. We love it. So thanks a lot and good night.
Cheers, folks.